So we've looked at LO1, where we did understanding person-centered values within health and social care sector. And then we looked at LO2, so this was last Wednesday and Thursday. So understanding equality, diversity and discrimination in person-centered approaches. And today we're going to be looking at LO3. So I think we have a new joiner with us. Right, so LO3, we're going to be looking at understanding how person-centered care is applied in practice in health and social care settings. So on LO3, we actually have 4 questions, 4 assessment criteria that we'll be covering. So the first one is 3.1, explain the skills and personal qualities needed to develop relationships with individuals in the health and social care setting. 3.2 is explain how health and social care workers can promote an individual's independence. And then 3.3 is describe situations where the health and social care worker can ensure privacy and dignity of individuals. Then we also have a merit question where you're going to be assessing the ethical issues involved in applying a PCA approach. So let me just see if our student that just joined has got volume now. Hi, viewer 4, is this Ganiyat? We have a new student that will be joining us. I'm not sure if this is that person now, but I'll just wait for them to put their speaker on and I'll speak to them. So we're going to be looking at these 4 questions, and we'll make a start on our PowerPoint. There you go. So, understand how person-centered care is applied in practice in health and social care settings. So we're going to be looking at some key terminology, and this is quite important that you include aspects of this terminology within your assignment when you're doing it, because it will help you answer it correctly. So the first point is positive relationships, and that means meaningful interactions that result in positive emotions like happiness, enjoyment, having a sense of well-being and being peaceful. These relationships are constructive and they're beneficial for everybody that's involved. Oops, oh dear. Then you have your other terminology is health environment. So it's where you have practitioners and organizations that provide diagnostic, preventative, remedial, and therapeutic services in different settings. Then we have social care environment, which is another key terminology, which is professionals and organizations that provide care, support, and protection to adults, young people, and children at risk, or with needs arising from illness, disability, old age, or other circumstances that might put them at a disadvantage. Okay. And then we have childcare environment. This is where practitioners and organizations that work with children from birth to 13 years in their own homes, or a nursery, or a preschool, or even a school setting, and outer school clubs and activity clubs. So that is what childcare environment is. And then we have working in partnership. It's a way of working that involves developing positive relationships between individuals, carers, and professionals, and where individuals remain at the center. So it's all working around that individual's needs. And then you also have good quality care and support is developed through mutual respect and open and honest communication. So we're going to go on to 3.1. Now, 3.1 is the question for this is explain the skills and personal qualities needed to develop relationships with individuals in a health and social care setting. So this is all about your skills and personal attributes that are needed to develop relationships. So it depends on what personal attributes you have and the qualities that make you the person that you are. So this section is all about that. So things like being kind, treating others with respect, being compassionate and caring. And there's actually a basic set of values that influence your working practices. And these values actually enable relationships to actually be developed between the service users and the caregivers. So there's things like, we've got over here examples like the 6 C's, like being caring, compassionate, but we will go over those in a moment. So enabling your own personal attributes, I think you need to have good communication skills. So having good communication skills are actually vital for people working in health and social care. It helps them to develop positive relationships with their service users, their families, and their friends. So it helps you to understand what their needs are, and so you can provide the care towards those needs to be met. It helps you develop positive relationships with your colleagues or other professions that you might meet. It also helps you to share information with people using the services. I think it was it Arista? Was it you that said the other day that you were having difficulty with a patient because there wasn't enough information shared between colleagues? Yeah. And also communication skills help you to report on the work that you do, that people will do. So this leads us into the 6 C's. Now, the 6 C's are listed over here. So can you all see my screen? I should have asked earlier. Yeah, fantastic. So care, compassion, competence, communication, courage, and commitment. So compassion in practice is a national strategy for nurses, midwives, and care staff. It was launched in December 2012. So following a nationwide concern about the standard of nursing after the failings of a Mid-Staffordshire hospital and Winterbourne View. So it was a hospital for people with learning disabilities and autism. So they've developed the 6 C's as a strategy so that they have 6 values that they can feel that these are what we need to follow to ensure adequate care is given. So the first value, care, it means to look after and providing the needs of a person. Compassion is the awareness of the needs of others and the desire to help them. Competence is the ability to understand a person's needs combined with the expertise and knowledge to deliver effective care and meet those needs. Communication is the exchange of information between 2 or more people that helps to provide care and support. And courage is the personal strength and vision to do the right thing. And then commitment is determination to provide and improve care to meet the needs of those people. Are we all okay so far with what I've gone over?
Yeah.
And please tell me if I'm being too fast. I have a habit of steamrolling sometimes. So another part of this is active listening and responding. So when you're with a patient, with a service user, you need to actually show them that you're actively listening to them and you're actually responding to what they're saying to you. So it's not, you can't just be sitting there all stoic or yawning or distracted or looking at your charts. You actually need to be looking at them. Show them your facial expressions, have eye contact, make sure you have an open body language. So you're not, sitting with your arms folded or slouching down in the chair. You're actually showing them active listening. So you shouldn't, like I said earlier, you shouldn't be looking at your notes or your watch or at other people, or even giving them the impression that you're bored. So you need to make them feel that they are the only person at that particular time that you're paying attention to them. Because otherwise it might distress them, or they might feel that you're being rude with them, and it could affect their self-esteem. So here are some things that we can actually do to make sure that we actively listen and respond. So the process of this is allowing the person who is talking, give them time to explain, so don't interrupt them. Give encouragement by smiling, nodding, and making encouraging remarks such as really and oh yes, and carry on. Ask questions to clarify. So can you explain that again, please? Show empathy by making comments like, that must be so difficult for you. Look interested by maintaining eye contact and don't look at anything else. Don't be distracted. Switch off your mobile phone or put your charts away. And summarize to make sure that you've understood what they've said. So once they've spoken to you and told you about any issues that they may be having, you can say, oh, so what you mean is, and then just do a small summary of what you think they have said to you, just to make a good clarification. And then also the tone of your voice is really important in this as well. So you might be speaking to young children, you might be speaking to vulnerable adults, people that might be hard of hearing. So it's very important that you use a good tone of voice. So it's not just what you say, but it's the way you say it. So if you're talking to someone and being really loud or having a fixed tone, they might think that you're being angry with them, or that you think that they're beneath you, that they're not as intelligent as you. So it's important that you speak to them calmly and quietly and use a varying tone, just like you would with your friends. So that the other person will think that you're being friendly and kind and that you're interested in what they're saying. But like we said, if there's somebody who has difficulty hearing, you might want to speak a little bit more loudly, but still try and keep a calm tone with them. And then people skills. So these are skills that help us get on with other people and they can help us develop relationships. So some of these skills are listed here. So we have empathy, and that is the ability to share and understand the emotions of others, such as sadness, anxiety, happiness. You have patience, the capacity to accept or tolerate problems without being annoyed or anxious. Engendering trust, so the ability to get people to trust you. Being flexible, so fit in with others and change your own plans if you need to. Have a sense of humor, so be able to see the funny side of situations. Negotiating, so the process by which two parties with different interests or perspectives attempt to reach an agreement. So for like a doctor and a patient trying to come to a point about their healthcare. Honesty, be truthful and sincere, and problem solving, so the ability to ask the right questions and find an answer for the problem. So that was 3.1. Do we have any questions up to now?
No, I'm all right.
Yeah, fantastic. It's going to, if you don't mind, I'll just take a moment. Just see if we can get our new learner on.
The technical unit said that no.
Sorry, just one moment. Sorry about this. There you go. Okay. So we're going to go on to 3.2. And this section is all about independence, about how the question is explain how a health and social care worker can promote an individual's independence. So we're going to be looking at how as I said, the health and social care worker can promote an individual's independence. I can't say that word today. Independence. So we have something called active participation here. And this is a part of person-centered approach. Active participation, it helps to support the rights and independences of the service users. And this can be done by encouraging them to actively participate in their own care planning, and also by assisting them to be as independent as possible within their daily lives. This is actually really beneficial to service users, and it helps to do these points over here, which is it helps them to have increased independence. It helps to have higher self-esteem, self-confidence, and self-awareness. There's a better overall well-being for the service user. It can open up more activities and opportunities, such as social contact and relationship building. It's an increased opportunity for learning and development, better relationships between individuals and their care staff, increased physical activity and general health, and decreased likelihood of abuse and vulnerability. We have a lot of background noise going on. If it's one of you with the noise, if you just mute yourself, and then when you want to answer, just unmute yourself if you have a question or Thank you. So another part, more benefits of this are that there's active participation can be used to support all aspects of an individual's preferences and needs, because the individual have a big say in how their care and support is being provided. So when an individual is encouraged to take an active role in planning their own support, they're able to live a better life, and they actually got a choice in what they say. This can result in more opportunities to get involved with activities and social interactions. And then active participation is a way of working that recognizes an individual as an active partner in their own care, and it supports them by acknowledging that they've got rights to make their own choices and relationships and choose what they want to do in everyday life and be as independent as possible. And it also promotes the rights, independence, and choices of that individual. So this section was how to promote individuality. And for this bit here, when we go over our assignment, it's always good to include these points in, but then also have an example of something that you may have done to help somebody be as independent as possible, just to cover all aspects. So that was 3.2. Are we okay with that so far?
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. So we're going to go on. Thank you, Bob. That's really good. So 3.3, and this is where you're describing situations where the health and social care worker can ensure privacy and dignity of an individual. First, I'll go over what privacy and dignity is, then I'm going to be asking you a question, so be ready. So privacy and dignity, they're part of person-centered values. We've all seen this over and over in the past few lessons. So what is privacy? So privacy is giving people space as and when they need it, and respecting personal, confidential information about them that you might be privy to. So what is dignity? Dignity is respecting and valuing all of the individuals that you work with, and treat them with care, compassion, and respect their views, and also give them personalized care. So I'm going to ask each one of you if you can give me a short example about what you might have done to ensure somebody's privacy or dignity is kept. Can we start with Arista, please?
Yeah.
So what have you done for privacy and dignity for a patient?
like for the privacy, there was an occasion where a patient was I was I wanted to go and do some personal care. So when
Mhm.
so normally you have to knock and so they come in. But the hand to tell me that she's phone, so I have to leave her the door and go back for her to finish her call. Then when she's done,
Mhm.
she'll call me so that I can continue with what I'm doing. That's why I gave her privacy to receive a call.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Yeah, that's a great example of giving her her own space to do that. Of ensuring privacy or dignity for a service user.
No, I didn't hear that. Can you come in? I didn't hear that.
Oh, so I was just asking Ben now if he had an example of privacy or dignity.
All right. For me, I've not done care before, but
Mhm.
looking at the explanations given,
Yeah. Mhm.
I can relate that to other aspects of
Yeah.
one's life or relationship, where you have a conversation with someone they confide in you,
Yes.
tell you something private. So it's left for you to keep it private than sharing it out with someone else.
Mhm.
So I
So
would look at that as privacy,
yeah.
because they're
That's
confided in you to share out information with you or tell you what they're going through. Then it's left for you to keep it the way because they trusted you to let you know that.
yes. So that's perfect. That's like you're saying, having confidential information that you're not going to be passing around, because you will find that as you're working with the people, they love to talk and they will give you information. So that is a perfect point. And Charity, would you have an example of this?
Yes. In my line of work, I've actually done all sorts.
Mm-hmm.
From washing and dressing, privacy must be provided at all times.
Yes.
Patient must be covered up, and each area you want to wash is only what is to be exposed and behind closed doors, if possible, or behind closed curtains. And yeah, and in end of life, because this one goes through life and into end of life. So we can't just say because the patient is no more alive, we treat the patient anyhow. No,
Yeah.
we still have to maintain, dignity, honor.
Yes.
You have to honor you honor the living and you honor the dead in this our work.
No,
And
that's fantastic.
privacy is provided at all times. Like when patient is receiving calls, you need to seek that permission. You need to obtain consent if that patient wants you to be there while she's receiving that, making the calls, or you have to let her be, for that particular time, which is privacy, because there might be something that they want to discuss with the family. And when they finish the call, you also have to, is there anything you want to tell me? You need to ask. So don't just burst on the patient. So what did you discuss? That's not allowed.
Yeah, don't just be don't be nosy. Make sure they actually want to speak to you. Yes, so that's a great example. Thank you.
Consent must be obtained at all times.
Yes, 100%. Thank you so much. So, like we've just gone over a few examples, giving privacy when somebody is bathing or when they're having a phone call, keeping their confidential information to yourselves. Make sure that there's dignity. Like Charity has said, even if there's end of life, somebody has passed away, then you're still making sure that you're giving them as much dignity as you can. So fantastic responses. Thank you. So here's a little section on how privacy and dignity might be compromised and how it can be maintained. So privacy and dignity of an individual can be compromised if the care workers do not value or respect them. And there's a table here that shows us how dignity and privacy are maintained and how compromises might be made. So you can maintain it by knocking before entering the individual's room, or you could just walk straight into the room without knocking, but that would be compromising it. Greeting and speaking to an individual and maintaining, asking for consent before touching, an individual to perform personal care, and only sharing information about an individual on a need-to-know basis. So this section here is how you can maintain privacy and dignity. As I said earlier, walking into the individual's room without knocking, ignoring an individual whilst carrying out your work, performing personal care without asking for their consent, and telling an individual's family and friends personal information about them without consent or for good reason will be compromising their privacy and dignity. So that is 3.3 done. Are we all okay on how 3.3 is so far?
Actually, can I ask a question?
Yes.
This is Arista.
As I know.
Yeah. What will you call it if a patient's the room is opened and you have to do some personal care, you have to go in. So how will you define it? Is it if you entered without because the room is open? So,
yes.
So if someone entered without any sign, without knocking, or would you call that compromising privacy?
Well, if it's like I've seen some wards where there's like 5 or 6 beds within one open room, and then they've got the curtains around them. If you were to just walk in and the curtain is open, then because you have to presume that if they've got their curtain open, they're happy to be approached. So then you won't be compromising their privacy or dignity. If the curtain is closed, you could sort of rattle the curtain a little bit just to try and get their attention and then say their name. And then if there is no answer, just maybe have a slight peek because obviously you need to be delivering care to them. So you'll be checking are they asleep or they're awake. So you've got to just think about it in like applying your own sense onto it, thinking what is the situation at the moment and just working off that.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, is that okay? So is everybody else okay on this section?
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. So we're going to go on to the merit question, which is all about ethical and moral issues. So 3M1, which is assess the ethical issues involved in applying a person-centered approach. So when we're doing ethical working, it can be done by respecting the basic values that we talked about earlier, things like care, compassion, and good communication. Ethics, though, is quite a big thing. It includes facing moral questions, things like, do we need to prolong the life of a terminally ill person, even if they're saying they don't want it to be prolonged? What sort of approaches you need to take at that moment? So here are some examples of common medical ethical issues, and then we're going to be going over some theories that go over ethical and moral issues. So the examples are as follows. So patient privacy and confidentiality. So the protection of private patient information is one of the most important ethical and legal issues in the field of healthcare. So transmission of diseases, relationships, and end-of-life issues. So those are some of the issues that can be faced for ethics. So there are quite a few ethical theories that we will be going over. So I'm just going to go over this. So for centuries, philosophers have come up with theoretical ways of telling right from wrong and giving you guidelines on how to live and act ethically. So when you're faced with a difficult situation in life, you can use your ethical theories to guide your decisions. And each theory emphasizes different points. So in order for you to reach an ethically correct decision. So you have your own individual choice of theory based on your life experience. And here are some of the theories that we're going to be going over. So consequentialism, deontology, principalism, and virtue ethics. So I'll explain them in detail. So we're going to go over consequentialism. So this has been developed over time. So early writers on consequentialism Principalism were Jeremy Bentham and one of his students, John Stuart Mill. And then a modern writer updated this. He was called Peter Singer, and he was born in 1946. So this was updated by him quite a long time after the first two worked on it. So this theory says that the correct moral response is related to the outcome or consequences of the act and not its intentions or motives. So if you're making a decision about a person's health or social care using this theory, you would look at the results of your decision, not what you want to happen. You could see that what results will happen from your decisions. So, for example, a critically ill child needs a very expensive surgical treatment and has a low survival expectancy. So, there's 3 points here. Should the NHS do the operation, or should the money be allocated to carry out hundreds of tonsillectomy operations? What are the consequences of spending the money either way, and which is most important? So, in this, they're saying that a child who's critically ill, they're not sure if this child will survive or not. Would you do 10 or 20 operations on this child, or would you spend that same money into treating a lot of other service users? So it's that dilemma with consequentialism. So you're looking at the consequences of your treatments. Then we've got deontology. So the writers of deontology are Immanuel Kant and W.G. Ross. And deontology theory says that you should stick to your obligations and duties to a person or society when making a decision, because this is ethically correct. So it focuses on your intentions rather than the outcomes of your actions. And this means, for example, that rules about who receives what treatment are applied universally and consistently. Like the previous one was all about consequences of what treatment you give them. This one says, doesn't matter what happens after the treatment, everybody should be given treatment. So as part of this is all patients are owed the duty of care and the duty of not being harmed, and this theory does not take various factors into account. So it won't consider lack of resources or whether one operation on a person who may or may not survive is good to do, should be done, or maybe somebody else should be getting that treatment instead. It just says that everybody should be getting treatment. Are we okay on consequentialism and deontology so far? Yeah. Brilliant. And principalism. So Tom L. Butekamp and James F. Childress are the key writers on this. And this approach actually follows 4 key ethical practices. So the first ethical practice is autonomy, where it says to respect the decision-making capabilities of autonomous people, and by enabling them to be independent, reasoned, and make informed choices about their own care. Beneficence. This is balancing the benefits of treatment against the risks and costs. So acting in a way that benefits the patient and promotes the well-being of others. So they've used an example here of a cancer drug called trastuzumab, if I've said that right, which costs £22,000 to treat one person for a year. So the dilemma here is, would this money be better spent on saving a lot of people who have heart attacks, or should this £22,000 be spent on that one person? Then non-maleficence, so doing no harm, so avoid causing harm. For example, to make sure that any side effects of a treatment will not outweigh the benefits of the treatment. So the drug or the treatment that you're giving to your patient might help them feel better, but then it depends on what sort of side effects they are. Is this going to improve their life or make it worse? So you've got to think about it in that way. Justice, being morally right and fair, distributing a fair share of benefits, doing what the law says, and looking at the rights of the people involved. And then finally, the aim of principalism is to bring together the best elements of various other ethical theories that match the most social, individual, or religious belief systems. So what they've tried to do is they've tried to bring together a little bit of consequentialism, deontology, and bring it all into one place where it's updated and actually it's correct for the times that we are at now. Then we have virtue ethics, which is the last theory in this. So this theory has its roots in the work of Plato, Aristotle, who are very old theorists. It focuses on the moral character or virtues of the individuals. If you're going to use this theory as a health and social care professional, you need to make decisions based on your own morals and what you feel is right, the right way to behave towards your patients and colleagues. So, for example, you might take time to explain treatment options to a patient and find out what they actually want to happen. So in this example, you're getting the patient involved in their own treatment. So we've looked at the 4 theories of this. This was the merit question. How do we feel about this? Have you got any questions?
This virtue ethics is not clear to me. What are you talking about, please?
This is about ethics. This is the merit question where you're talking about, if you choose to do it, it's you're assessing the ethical approaches. So it's all about ethics and morals. So virtue ethics is just about how you feel yourself, about how you would like to be treated or how to treat others.
For okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so is that example? You might take time to explain treatment option to a patient.
Yeah, that's
find out what they want to happen. Okay.
Yeah, so that in a way is all about person-centered approach, because in the PCA, as we call it, it's you're bringing the patient within their own treatment. You're asking them, you're getting them involved, you're seeing what the right choices for them are at that time. So in a way, virtue ethics is person-centered approaches, isn't it? If we think about it, because you're getting them involved. Fantastic. So this, is anybody get any more questions? So I'm saying that this is yes, sorry, Ben, yes?
No, not really, but it might be much more clear when we discuss the assignments. Yeah.
Yeah,
just
it will be.
Good approach to them, yeah.
No, it definitely will be, because then on the assignment brief day, I'll go over everything in a lot of detail, telling you exactly what you need to do and what should be included on that. It will be a lot clearer then.
All right.
So I want to take you over to our learning environment, if I can find where I've put it. It's over here. I'm pretty sure I'll be logged out again. So on the person-centered approach section in our learning environment, you've got this here, if you can see it, LO3 new. This is the PowerPoint that I've just gone over. You also have something called, where is it gone? Work in a person-centered way, standard 5. This actually explains the 6 C's, and it goes over a few points that just makes it a little bit more clear if you want more information to read over. I'll just re-log back in. Ooh, that was quick today. So work in a person-centered way, what you need to do. So this is standard 5. So it just goes over the values. And then you come further down until you get onto the 6 C's. And it just tells you the importance of the 6 C's, the history of it, why it came about, and then it just goes over to details about how it helps service users. So if you want to have a little bit more of a read of that, this is a good one. It really does like throwing me out on this. There you go. And then the second one we got is all about, it's for 3M1, it's about the ethical approaches that we've just gone over. So it's a handout. It talks about a dementia sufferer. It's like a case study. So it's just about why is ethics, what is an ethical approach. So if you want to have, it's a bit of a read. So if you want to have feel like you have some free time, you can go over this as well. So those are the two handouts. So standard 5, which is hiding from me. So handout 3M1, that's the first one. And then we have work in a person-centered way, standard 5. Those are the two things that I would recommend if you want to do more reading to look at. Before I turn the recording off, I want to point out this indicative content again, like we do every lesson. So I want to show you what covers what in this here. So this from here, come down to here, will cover 3.1, where you're talking about the terminology, tone of voice. You mentioned the 6 C's and that just briefly. Then when we go into privacy and dignity, you're going to be going on to here. So it's about how you're using opportunities to promote privacy and dignity, how you're maintaining confidentiality and so on, and then how you're giving them choices of day to day. And then you've got the ethical considerations just at the bottom here. Then I got this out of here. This is how you're promoting them to make their own individual choices, which is 3.3. So are we all okay with that little section there?
Yeah.
I will go over it again on Wednesday when we go.
So where did you get this? Where is it? Is it the handbook?
No. Do you know this here? Do you know the front cover sheet? Sorry, the unit specification sheet. I'll show you exactly where it is. Actually, I don't think I've showed you that yet. Let's find it. So that's
in the lecture.
Okay. There it is. It's the first one. A person-centered approach to health and social care unit spec sheet. So if I click on it now, it'll open another window for me. So this is what I go over at the beginning of each lesson. So it goes over all the questions that when I highlight what each one is, and then you scroll all the way down to the bottom, because this is something that a lot of students miss because they don't scroll down. But this actually tells you, it's sort of like a cheat sheet. It's telling you what you need to include in each question to make sure that you're passing that question. So here is the LO3, what we've gone over. It's very detailed. So if you follow this, you're not going to go wrong. And then obviously tomorrow we'll be looking at reviewing your own person-centered skills. So I'm going to turn the recording off now.